let's take a look at some charts, figures, and graphs on EOS for Brave New Coin. So EOS is a proof-of-stake network with one of the biggest, or the biggest, ICO ever in existence. Somewhere around 4 billion, thereabouts, in a year-long ICO. They've paid their pound of flesh to the SEC for their unregistered securities offering, which was in the millions at the time. Basically a slap on the wrist based on what they collected. Market cap's currently 3.9 billion. That's below what they raised as far as I can remember. Another interesting little tidbit here is the market cap's 3.9. What they actually hold, Block 1, the company behind EOS, what they actually hold in their balance sheet is somewhere around 765. So they almost hold 2x the market cap of the coin they created because they held the BTC. And some interesting thoughts on that have been raised as far as buying back EOS or distributing the BTC to EOS holders, something crazy like that. Is that likely to happen? No. But it's a question that's going to be crossing many people's minds as this project continues to dwindle to nothing rather quickly against BTC, against ETH. The classic ETH killer syndrome, claiming it can dethrone everything, ends up doing nothing. So that's Block 1 for you. I checked out their Twitter just because I like to do that to see, is there anything going on that's big. There was a hackathon, pretty much it. I don't really see anything, mind-blowing here. Some PR, some marketing stuff, some dev stuff. Nothing too crazy going on in that realm. Now, Dan Larimer left EOS or Block 1 as the CTO a few weeks ago now, and he's on to his next project. He's on to his next project. If you look at the block producers, basically the validators of EOS, I talk about this with any proof of stake network, but in reality, it's important for any network. Is it decentralized? Is it globally decentralized? Is it geographically decentralized? Are the interested parties here neutral relative to one another? Is most of this exchanges? Is most of this located in China? Stuff like that. That's important to pay attention to. In this case, many of these are actually exchanges: Nudex, Bitfinex, Huobi, WhaleX, Binance. So if there's ever a governance dispute where it's in the exchange's best interest but not in the user's best interest, there's going to be some problems there. There's going to be some shuffling of the votes there. And ideally, some other parties pull up the slack on the top 21 validators, which get paid out in EOS. If we look at transactions per day, from January to mid-September 2020, transactions basically quintupled. And then since then, they've fallen all the way back to the January levels. So in a vacuum, that's not bullish when you're seeing less network activity. Block counts remain sort of unchanged. There was a big issue in early 2020 when there was a massive airdrop that just slowed down the entire network. It clogged it, and there were a bunch of issues, but that's long gone now. So transactions not bullish for EOS here. Looking at the dApps users, this is dApp Radar. Users per month for EOS around 45,000. Top volume around 285 million. So most of this is gambling, DeFi stuff, exchange stuff. This Upland is a Decentraland equivalent, so some sort of virtual property thing. Yup is some sort of social media thing, and the rest of this is either games or scams or gambling, the classic dApp stuff. Just to contrast that with ETH, if we go to the top user dApps in the past 30 days, Uniswap obviously number 1, and then a bunch of NFT related stuff, some games in here, some DeFi stuff, gambling stuff, and down the line we get into scams and stuff like that. But overall, most of the ETH dApps have many more users than EOS dApps, probably by a factor of 10. And as far as volume is concerned, in the billions on Uniswap, DYDX, Compound, Sushi. I mean, the top 10 plus are in the billions as far as volume is concerned, whereas EOS, nothing cracks in the billions. It's all in the millions in the top 10. I'm just comparing because this is what people do, right? Should I buy EOS or should I buy ETH? Let's look at BSC just for fun. Whatever this is says it's in the trillions. Now, I don't trust CZ or Binance on anything for any second. So my guess is all this is fake volume, fake users, just completely goosed, completely not real, not correct. All this stuff probably leans towards scam more so than not, but you have to know that going into this. Now, you can't be beguiled by these amazing numbers on PancakeSwap and whatnot, right? Like, yes, ETH is having issues with fees, but it's important to keep the perspectives here. Just as I mentioned, the decentralization issues with proof of stake. I mean, the DEX on ETH is not a DEX; it's centralized. BSC is controlled by Binance completely. It is what it is, but unless you know that going into it, you can't really compare these one to one, right? You know, it makes EOS look like chopped liver as far as the volumes are concerned. So would I personally rather hold BNB than EOS? I would, but not because of this DApp radar data or this DApp data. Anyway, so EOS, you know, it's behind the pack as far as users are concerned, volumes concerned. Anyway, I try to look at this, just doesn't hold water against ETH or anything else really. And I was there when Brendan Bloomer gave the pitch. I listened to it twice live, and he was talking about dApps and DAX and DAOs, and it was going to be the Uber on the blockchain and all this other stuff. It doesn't look like it's quite there just yet. Looking at EOS.io, Google Trends over the past few years, we had a nice little spike up here in February, but the rest of the year has been rather muted. It has been higher than previous 2 years, but nothing too crazy. You know, it hasn't revisited all-time highs as far as Google Trends is concerned. If we look at technicals, we have the 50, 200 EMAs, yearly pivots, VP, VR, volume, and RSI. So at face value, trend-wise, this looks okay. It's got a bullish 5200 cross. It's basically above 2020 highs entirely. So it's at yearly highs and continues to maintain that. It just doesn't look, any way I try to look at this, I don't see a strong history of bullish continuation. It broke out in 2019, retraced everything, broke out in late 2019, retraced everything in 2020, was flat throughout 2020. And now it's basically hit the early 2020, late 2019 highs, but doesn't look, there's no patterns here. There's nothing here as far as screaming bullish continuation. It's got resistance at all of these VPVR levels on the way up. 550, 850, it's got resistance at these yearly pivots. Most of the big volumes over the past few months have been selling volumes, so there's been lots of selling here relative to buying. It's just, for me, I'd rather have capital deployed elsewhere than in something like this where it doesn't really have a history of strong bullish trend. You can see it's kind of trapped below, what is this? Probably the ICO level. I think the ICO price was somewhere around $4. But there's you can draw a horizontal line here, basically at $5 and $2. And that looks like where it wants to live in the near term. So if it gets above 5, then we can say, all right, maybe there's something here. But until then, it just looks like it wants to range. If you look at the EOS USD 3-day cloud, zooming way out here because it was super noisy, as it is with any ranging chart on lower time frames. But on the 3-day, it actually looks pretty good. It's really above the cloud for the first time since 2018 on this time frame. So maybe I'm not bullish enough trend-wise because this is a pretty big, it's a multi-year breakout of the cloud, basically. So in a vacuum, this deserves a long from that perspective, certainly. EOS BTC, man. Now, I challenge you to find a more bearish chart than this. I'm going to look at Tezos later today, and it's probably going to be more bearish than this, but we have price at all-time lows, and we also have a bullish divergence at all-time lows, which for me is a good trade as far as taking that side of that trade. The probability that this continues to break lows is probably limited at this point, as much as I think EOS is worth absolutely nothing. On technicals, this setup is a buy for me because it's likely that most people who have capitulated have already done so, or wanted to capitulate have already done so. There hasn't been massive selling volumes here on this specific chart or exchange, but there wasn't a dramatic, you have to look at candles, but what I'm seeing on line graph, there isn't a massive dramatic down wick or anything like that, down day. This could be printing a W double bottom, and then it would want to ride this back to maybe 36,000 sats. I don't know. But overall, this is a good setup. You know, I've traded Zcash on similar setups. I think Zcash is worthless as well. But this technical setup looks good for a long in any way I can slice it. You know, I can't be bearish on this at this point. It's down whatever percent it's down since 2019. And every time it's tried to break out, it's just been failure after failure, sell-off after sell-off. Below the 200 since 2019. So maybe this tries to mean revert. You know, that's a 2x from here, basically. Decent setup, that's all I'm saying. EOS ETH actually revisited the all-time low. Didn't quite breach it on the close. But again, we're getting a W double bottom. Not quite a bull dip because we didn't get a lower low here. Tons of volume coming in at these lows. I don't think this pair is directly traded anywhere. You have to like fabricate it on TradingView, but again, mean reversion potential here, which would be a 2x on the upside. So overall, you know, anytime a treasury is worth 2x the actual market cap of the coin and the market cap is below the ICO level as far as what they collected, then it gives me pause for that project. The top people leaving the project gives me pause. The project unable to maintain a foothold in any way and in anything gives me pause. On-chain activity is down. Google trends are down. Prices at all-time lows on the BTC and ETH pairs. So maybe it's worth taking a stab there. But I can't be bullish on EOS long-term. The only thing that would get me bullish is if they forced the price up with buybacks one way or the other. You know, if they say they're redistributing the BTC to EOS holders, or if they say they're buying back the EOS coin on the BTC chart, for example. I mean, this is going to go insane. If they do that, they would announce that after the fact. They probably wouldn't announce that before it happens, obviously, for obvious reasons. But those are really the only two things I can see bullish for EOS at the moment. And that's like 1 in 1 million chance of actually happening. And if you're curious how we're trading ETH and BTC over at Techemy Capital, you can pop on over to enzyme.finance. Check out all the trades, check out what I do and when. It's all transparent, AUM, and where I'm allocated. You can even look at who's depositing when, and it's very interesting. You know, fees are 2 and 20. I don't make the rules, that's just what it is, but non-custodial portfolio management tool. So that's all I have for this one. Let me know what you think about EOS in the comments below, and happy trading.